wall. But Brandon, welcome back to the Terrace, mate. Of course, there was excitement a couple of days ago with the Gyökeres news, but 50 million bid supposedly made. Some people are denying it. They're saying that Fabrizio's making it up. Isn't it funny how people pick and choose when they trust Fabrizio or not? It's so funny that. And by the way, that's people that are negative and positive towards all of our clubs. He's like, 1 minute he speaks the truth, the next minute he's a bullshitter. But what do you make of this, mate? I mean, it's 50 million. It sounds like it might get rejected and more will be needed to be bid. But what's your initial reaction to it, Bran?
Short-lived excitement, Tel. Let's be honest, because I didn't expect this to happen. Obviously, we know that Berta likes to negotiate for a number of players before choosing which one, but I thought all along that Madueke would be a smokescreen for Arsenal in order to get another deal over the line. But it just shows that nothing's changed at Arsenal, to be honest with you, Tel. Nothing has changed at Arsenal, because I don't know what it is with this club. We're obsessed with signing other clubs' bums. I don't know. Somebody at Arsenal seems to think that he can resurrect careers. And I don't know if that's Arteta. I don't know if that's Richard Garlick or anybody else who we've got in charge. But clearly, they're not learning from their errors and their mistakes in the past, because how many Chelsea players have we signed that have actually worked out for us? You could say Jorginho was an okay signing, but the rest of them, let's be honest with you, Noni Madueke is not it. And I'm currently watching Tottenham getting an agreement with West Ham for Kudus, who's a much better player, for £5 million more than what we are currently bidding Noni Madueke. And I don't understand the logic behind Arsenal's thinking here. There is no logic here. And I've got to be honest, Tel, right? Now that I sit and think about it, I don't actually believe that Arsenal want the best in class. I don't believe that Arsenal are actually interested in going out there and getting the best players available in order to go and win the league title. Because now that I sit and think about it, it's looking like we're going to get Gyökeres. But really and truly, is that because we wanted Gyökeres, or is that because we got priced out of a deal for Šeško? Because to me, I think it's the latter. I think the reason why we are going for Gyökeres is because we got priced out of a deal for Šeško. If Leipzig didn't price us out of that deal, I think Šeško would be the guy that we're going for. And ultimately, it shows me that nothing's really changed at the football club. Nothing really, why would you pay 50, 60 million pound for Madueke when you can get Rodrigo for 10 to 20 million pound more? Why would you pay that for Madueke when there are other players available who are much better players than him that you could probably get for similar or maybe even less? So, and the fact that people keep saying, yeah, but he's going to be a backup. I don't want backups in this team. I want players that are going to push the starting 11 players, that are going to elevate them to new levels, that are going to help this Arsenal team. I don't look at Madueke and look at our current wingers that are available to us in Trossard, Martinelli, Saka and Nwaneri. He's not better than any of them. So this signing makes zero sense to me. Absolutely zero sense to me. It's just Arsenal being Arsenal again, Tel. And it's funny, really, because we're hearing today that we're kind of, stalling on the deal with Gyökeres over the sake of €5 million. But we can quite happily go to Chelsea and go, £50 million for Madueke. Make that one make sense. Just pay the extra 5 million, get Gyökeres over the line, and go and get Eze. Go and get Rodrigo. Sell some players. Do something. But signing Madueke, really? Come on now. We're not serious, Tel. We ain't. We're not serious.
Yeah, look, I understand the frustration with this. And look, I'm always open-minded. I'll always look for the silver lining in things and look for the other side. I think for this kind of money, I think you've got every right to be frustrated. And I suppose does a lot of it stem from that concern now that maybe there'll be a pivot of, well, after spending the money on Gyökeres and after spending the money on Madueke, is there that little fear amongst yourself and other Arsenal fans that maybe then the kind of news is briefed of, or they've called their interest in Eze because they've made other signings. If they're not looking at Rodrigo anymore because they've made these 2 signings, is that the sort of fear that you sort of pivot away from the real exciting players that you're also linked to?
Well, let's just look at the history of Arsenal in the transfer windows, right? And we can go back further than, under Mikel Arteta's reign. Arsenal, I can't remember a time in the last 20 years that Arsenal have gone out in the transfer window and got absolutely everything that they've needed. Even the transfer window where we brought in Declan Rice, we brought in Kai Havertz, and that hasn't, kind of worked out. I've not known a single transfer window where Arsenal have gone out and got everything that they've needed. So, to me, if you look at the history, I don't believe that Arsenal are going to sign Rodrigo and Eze on top of Madueke. I believe this is an alternative. This is somebody that Arsenal are looking at going, we can't really go out and get... Because if we go and do that, then you're talking about Arsenal spending in excess of £350 million. And I'm not saying that we haven't got the ability to do that, but Arsenal have never, ever done that before. So I believe that this is a signing that Arsenal believe, is going to come in and be a success. And I believe that one of either Eze or Rodrigo or whoever it is, one of them positions will not get bought in this transfer window. You'll probably see Madueke playing on the left-hand side. Because let's be honest, let's say he is coming in as Bukayo Saka's backup. And Arsenal Football Club have pretty much said to him, you're going to be a backup to Saka. Why would Madueke come to Arsenal if he knows he's not going to get any playing time? I know he's going to probably double his wages. I understand that. But surely as a 23-year-old footballer, you're going to want to play as many games as possible. And he knows, or if he had some sense around him, he knows he's nowhere near the player Bukayo Saka. So if you're coming in as a backup for Saka, you're not going to get much game time because the manager loves Saka anyway and plays him consistently week in, week out. I know we haven't really had a backup option, but we had Sterling last season and the manager still chose to consistently play Bukayo Saka and even bring him back from an injury, a long-term injury after surgery, rather than playing the options that he had available to him. So to me, I'm looking at Madueke and thinking, okay, he's coming in, but he's coming in on the left-hand side. And we've recently seen him being played for Chelsea on the left-hand side. So I think that's what's happening here, Tel.
Yeah, you think he'll be deployed on the left. Yeah, listen, I understand the fear. And there were quite a few people in the chat saying, be a supporter, just get behind the decision. And look, you know me, I'm quite a positive person even when it comes to my own club. But I understand the criticism. I don't think it's fair to slam people for being concerned about.
Do you know what's funny about that, right? People saying, be a supporter and just get behind the decision. How many times have we done that? And then, it comes to the end of the season, we're sitting there going, do you know what? I supported the decision, but Kai Havertz ain't really the guy, is he? It's the fake positive, people that come out and give it all this fake positivity. You can be unhappy with a signing. That doesn't make you negative. I think all these toxic positive gooners that just sit there and accept everything, come on now. You can be unhappy with a signing and you can, I see a gal losing his head about this Madueke signing. I don't blame him one little bit, and that's one of the most positive Arsenal fans, on social media, I would say. But, there comes a point where you're consistently getting burnt all the time. You don't go near the oven anymore. Do you know what I mean? I don't get it. I don't get why these Arsenal fans, now that the bid's gone in, after days and days of saying no to Madueke, we don't want him, are all of a sudden trying to put a positive spin on this. There's nothing positive about it. You do realise this is going to affect Arsenal long-term massively, because he ain't of the level, he ain't of the quality. We need quality if we want to win this league. We're looking at Liverpool, they're bringing in quality. Man City are bringing in quality. And we're looking across the league and going, we'll go back to Chelsea for one of their bums. A guy that they don't even rate. I ain't seen a single Chelsea fan, apart from Don, who's going, I don't want Madueke to leave. And that tells you everything you need to know, really, doesn't it?
I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know what Don has said publicly. I haven't seen his tweets, but in the group chats, he's just been celebrating the whole time you've been linked to him. So again, that tells you something. At the very least, it tells you something that Chelsea fans are very, very happy to see him go. And look, as I said before, what would this deal at 50 million? There are some reports that his wages aren't going up by that much, to be fair. What would soften the blow for you? Would it be still bringing in Eze, Gyökeres, and someone in the ilk of a Rodrigo? Would that lessen the blow because you've still covered all the positions and holes you need? Or is there nothing that can soften this blow for you personally?
I mean, we spoke about this the other day. You know, if we get Eze, Rodrigo, and Gyökeres over the line plus Madueke, then you don't look at this as such a bad signing. But it's still hard to make sense of why Arsenal are willing to go to the lengths of £50 million plus for this player. So, you know, either way, when you look at it, yes, them 3 signings would soften the blow, but there's no need to go and get Madueke. I don't understand the need to go and get Madueke. And let's say that happens. Let's say we go get them 3 signings and we get Madueke alongside it. And then all of a sudden, because 1 year he's not getting the game time that he's craving, he decides, I'm not signing a new contract, I'm going to leave. You know, and then you look at that and go, well, that's even worse. And I'm not saying that's going to happen because I believe that 1 year he will stay. But he might be looking at this himself and saying, well, where am I getting into this Arsenal team? You know, I'm going to wait a little while, see what happens, see what we do in the transfer window, see how much game time I get next season before I sign a new contract. And I wouldn't blame the kid for doing that. But then you're looking at it again and going, okay, we've lost Wanyeri, who's a better player than Madueke. It's like, I can't make sense of it. Egal, please try and make some sense of this, bro. Please.
It doesn't make sense. What sense is there? If you're going to go sign a backup for 50 million, you might as well get the main dish for 60, 70 and get it sorted right now. I know Rodrigo is still in the Club World Cup, and that's probably why we haven't gone in for him yet. And he has a release clause, but it just doesn't make sense to me. I think Arsenal need to go and bid for Rodrigo or Eze before they start spending money on Noni Madueke. You don't know what's going to happen come the end of the window. If you're short and you've spent your money on your backup targets, what's going to happen when you have no money left for your main targets? And this is really where we leave ourselves in a situation where we could shoot ourselves in the foot. And I don't want Noni Madueke as a starter. I don't want Noni Madueke as a backup, because that kind of money is not the kind of money you spend on a backup. For example, Mohamed Kudus is going to Tottenham potentially for a similar fee. If I'm not mistaken, Joao Pedro went for a similar fee to Chelsea. A bunch of these players that are going for 50 million tend to come into those teams and be starters. We now are going to be having 2 players going into next season that we would have spent 65 million and 100. So we would have spent 105 million on 2 backups from Chelsea in our season next season. If we start the season with Eze, Saka, and Gyökeres, for example, that would mean Kai Havertz and Noni Madueke would both be backups, which you would have bought for a total of 105 million pounds. A waste of funds. And if you're telling me we're paying this money because of his wages being so cheap, then at least the transfer has to be reasonable. And 50 million might just be the add-ons. If the add-ons are 10 million, if the add-ons are 15 million, maybe then it's a little bit more acceptable. But 50 million is outrageous. 40 million, 35 million sounds more like what this deal probably would be if you exclude the add-ons. But hey, and I think this is coming from the Chelsea side. Why would Arsenal brief this to Fabrizio? And also, if Arsenal is going to brief this to somebody, they're going to brief it through David Ornstein or somebody connected to the club. I think Fabrizio is way more connected to Chelsea. And no coincidence, this might be coming from the Chelsea side saying, hey, preparing people for the possibility that Arsenal might bid 50 million for Noni Madueke. It makes more sense coming from the Chelsea side to drum up interest from other parties that might also be interested to try to create more money or more potential eyes towards this deal. But yeah, I don't want it. I don't think any Arsenal fan wants Noni Madueke. And anybody who does think Noni Madueke is coming in and they see the positives, they must also believe we're going to go pull off 2 or 1 of Eze and Rodrigo on top of this.
Do you think this impacts those deals? How much do you think it's going to impact the potential of Rodrigo and or Eze?
I think Noni Madueke immediately replaces one of them in the pecking order. I don't think we bring in Gyökeres, Noni Madueke, Eze, and Rodrigo. That would just be crazy if we think we're going to spend that much amount of money on the attack this window, especially with the money we've already spent across the team. Really and truly, Eze is going to cost us 60 million, 20 million installments first season. Then you got Rodrigo is going to cost you anywhere between 70 to 80 million pounds. And then Noni Madueke is going to cost us as much or maybe more than some of our other signings. He's going to cost us more money potentially than Zubamendi. There's no chance we're going to be signing Noni Madueke for starter caliber money. It doesn't make sense to me.
I hear you on that. Let's see what Shannon's got to say with us here. Shannon, obviously, I know you're not normally more on the positive outlook when it comes to Arsenal. How are you feeling about this deal? I mean, Berta has done some brilliant business so far this summer, but this seems to be a deal that is, and I mean this politely, Igal, if your gal's not happy, there's a problem, right?
So here's my thing. And I actually had a discussion with the guys now. If you're looking at Arsenal, right, how many players can you name in world football that would be an upgrade on Saka? Salah, Lamine, Rafinha. There's not many right wingers that you're going to get that are going to make Arsenal fans feel as if it's an adequate or a sufficient signing, in my opinion, right? So if you look across Arsenal's whole team, and I'm gonna tie it back into Madueke, Arsenal have gotten to a position now where we've got players of, I would say, world-class caliber across our entire team. So to upgrade on these players is very difficult. So when you're looking at someone like Noni Madueke, yes, it seems underwhelming because, again, people think he hasn't been performing at Chelsea, and for whatever reason, we're signing a Chelsea reject by some accounts. But my thinking is that you are bringing in a player who's only 22, and again, people are forgetting, Arteta previously was judged for bringing in David Raya. Prove them wrong as to why he brought him in. Same thing with Kai Havertz, saying, why would he bring in Kai Havertz? He's not going to make the team better. Instead of giving the manager prove themselves, be a bit. Is my connection?
Yeah,
so guys, is my connection
okay? A little mad, bruv. Your Wi-Fi's moving like Berta.